What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cedar Point Unlimited. I'm, of course, Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois, joined once again by Mr. Steve Lynn. Steve, how's quarantine going for you?
Oh, it's going. I moved out of an apartment into a new home. Without quarantine, we probably wouldn't have finished as much as we could inside of the home to get ready for moving, but I would rather go outside and hang out with friends and go to amusement parks and do all that. But hey, I got my house done and I'm sitting in my, I guess what I'm calling my office. It's kind of my room to put all my junk in.
Right? There's some definite positives. So tonight we're going to be looking at, a little bit about Cedar Point and what we can reasonably expect from the upcoming season. Some good news to start off with. There are rumors, unconfirmed rumors, but people have posted some images of the park sending out text messages to people who want to apply for jobs, that they're going to start conducting interviews. Now, I don't know if those were doctored, if those are real, if they have been doing that all along. I really don't know. But hopefully that means that they're looking for employees to fill a park with, and that means that they are going to ultimately open. Some bad news since we've left you. One, they've canceled all the 150th anniversary activities. All of them are out the door. Most of the Cedar Fair parks have followed suit with canceling activities and new rides. The only exception to that is Orion. Orion is still, if you read Kings Island's website, they're still planning on opening up Orion. So that's some good news. But Snake River, the new paddle wheel excursions, it will not be happening this summer, that they are putting that off until 2021. And I'm assuming that this has to do with 1, staffing, 2, construction availability, and 3, maybe saving some money for the 2021 season. So all this new stuff just gets pushed over, and the money they lose on 2020, now, they kind of make up that ground by not having to do anything new for 2021. Some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if all of the are all of the indoor shows canceled. I've heard that all indoor, like Lusty Lils, anything in the Jack Alder Sphere, I've heard that all those are canceled for this year. I don't know if that's actually been confirmed, but I mean, if you look on the website under the special events, the only thing left on there is 4th of July fireworks. I think there was one other thing, and then Halloween Weekends is still on there, thankfully. But that's still far enough away where they can say that it's going to happen now. But I mean, that could very well be canceled because you're in close quarters with people scaring you and all that. So that I feel like they could still do all the Halloween decoration stuff in the park, but all the haunts would probably, indoor haunts at least, with
the indoor stuff. You could probably still do the scare zones, although. And I've had discussions with Brian Bass about this with one Rob Dole and
whoa, Brian, who's Brian Bass? Where did he come from?
And Halloween stuff's going to be real tough this year, especially if you're trying to socially distance. Do they wear the masks? Is that enough? So if they do get a little bit closer, does it not count? That's all up in the air. As for the indoor shows, that's a real interesting thing because they would always bring the actors in, at least a month ahead of time. That's why most of the indoor shows didn't really start until the end of May, early June. And that's so that the actors could actually rehearse and get the show down, and so that the director could, make some tweaks to it. So if you're not bringing those people in until mid-June, that means you're not going to open up until mid-July, and then you're only running that for the summer. You only have a month of show there. It's almost like, well, it's probably better not to bring those people in and just cut that, especially too if you don't even know if indoor theaters are even going to be open. I know New York City and Broadway, they've canceled everything through September already. So they have no intention of opening up a lot of the Broadway shows until after the fall has actually started. So I would not be surprised to see Cedar Point follow suit and just say indoor shows probably not going to happen. Maybe they'll hire some actors to do some of those like traveling band things that they did.
Yeah, I do know that one person I'm friends with on Facebook was in Forbidden Frontier, and they did post that that's canceled for the year.
Oh,
So they're not bringing that in at all for this year, at least as far as I know. But again, I don't think the park has actually confirmed that.
well, and you think about Forbidden Frontier, and a lot of it's passing items back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking maps, going to find stuff, interacting with people closely, and despite what some people believe, there's some belief out there that maybe contact through items isn't the way this is spreading. Who knows though? I think Cedar Point's going to play it safe, and it sounds like they're just going to cancel that too. So the park's going to look different. The other thing is too, keep in mind all those international students, all those international workers aren't coming over. Mexico just extended the travel ban into mid-June. We haven't reopened to Asia yet for travel. So, all of those people, I'm assuming, aren't going to be allowed to come over. So there's a very real possibility that we see not only limited capacity at the park, but also maybe limited rides too, that if they literally don't have enough people to work everything, I think it's a very real possibility that you're going to see every operating day look a lot like a Hollow Weekends Friday, where there's a set list of rides that are open. Now, I don't know if they're going to rotate that list. We're in the speculation part of this here. But maybe, because Hollow Weekends Friday, it's always the same rides are closed. Gemini's closed, Dragster's closed, right? Is Dragster closed on Friday?
I think Dragster's closed just because it's a pain in the ass to have it try and get up and running. And
so I could see them doing something like that and opening, limited rides and saying, okay, these are the rides that are going to be open today.
Yeah, I could see them doing that too. And I'm interested to know how it's going to work for the food stands. I mean, it's opening weekend with foods is always bad just because they don't have full staff in there yet. And from at least my experiences at the park, it does seem like they put a lot of international people in the food stands.
Yeah.
So those are going to be short-staffed. If the food stands are like they are on opening weekend throughout the year, that's going to be a major problem. Because I remember, opening weekends where not all locations are open yet, they have food lines stretching out to the midways.
And the interesting thing now is that they've made this concerted effort to put everything inside. The queue lines are inside, the food's inside, and it seems almost like counterproductive to what everyone's saying should be done, with people going inside the building. It probably would have been a lot better to have that line out on the midway and just have people stand in it. Now you got to go inside, and it's nobody could have foresaw that, but it's just funny that, you move everything inside. Everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea.
Stay outside.
And now it's like, no, stay outside.
Yep.
So it's kind of thrown everyone for a loop. The other thing too that we really don't know yet is we know what Six Flags is doing, and Six Flags is also being very cagey with what they're doing. So we know that Six Flags wants to open, that they're going to do this reservation system that you can reserve a spot for the park, and they're going to open up every day supposedly for the whole year, right when they open this system. However, the things that we don't know at Six Flags is what number they're going to allow into the park every day. That we've heard numbers thrown about that some parks, when surveys came out from like Universal and Disney, numbers were thrown around like 50% of max capacity would be allowed in. For Shanghai Disney, I believe it was like 25 to 30% of the max capacity were let in. And then obviously once you get in, there's all these different social distancing measures with spots on the ground, with stickers, with all this queue line virtual stuff. But we don't know for Six Flags what that number would be. And we certainly don't know what that number would be for Cedar Fair. The problem is, it's like if you're doing max capacity though, like we know Cedar Point only hits max capacity maybe once every 5 years. That they did it once last year. They did it for the Carly Rae Jepsen concert back in 2013. So they don't really hit max capacity much ever. So to do 50% of that, it would almost be like a regular operating day. And if you're not going to allow people to stand in the lines, if you do a virtual queue line, which like Holiday World is, or if you even do limited queue lines in there and you kind of like tape them off every other row or whatever so that people are distant from one another, that means that there's more people on the midway. So the place will actually look more crowded if you don't let people indoors, if you don't let people in the queues and they're out on the midway and you're still having 50%. That's where I think maybe Cedar Fair might be targeting, and maybe even Six Flags might be targeting that Disney number of 25 to 30, because now you're actually limiting capacity.
Yeah, and what's going to be interesting to see too is how are they going to monitor who is how are they going to monitor people registering? Like if once they open up registration, I have a season pass. I can technically go every single day. What's stopping me from picking, trying to reserve a spot for every single day to try and get in the park? And, Saturdays and Sundays, weekends are going to be the most popular times for people to go. So like for me, if this is what they do, I'm going to go in and instantly check off every single Saturday and Sunday. And if I get accepted, I'm going to go. And if not, oh well, but I'm going to try and at least reserve every possible time that I can go.
Well, and that's been, I think, at least my concern and some other people's concerns about Six Flags is, okay, like if I'm doing a big trip down to Texas or something, I'm not saying that I am. I know people who want to do this that still want to go maybe in July or August, and they want to travel down. Well, you have to be guaranteed a spot. If I'm going to travel down to Texas or travel to any other park, I want to be guaranteed a spot. And, they said like Six Flags is doing like waitlist stuff and all this other stuff. But with Cedar Point specifically, there's a whole nother level of issue with this exact problem. And that's the hotels, because they have all these hotels. There's been some speculation that maybe Breakers Express would not be opening this year. We don't know for sure. We'd assume Breakers would be opening. But if I'm going to pay between $200 and $400 a night for a hotel, there's going to need to be some sort of guarantee that I'm going to actually be able to enter.
Yeah, and I feel like they would do that. Anyone who does have a hotel reservation, they're going to be allowed in the park for, their check-in day plus however many days that they have their reservation for. And, if that's the case, that's probably going to make me reserve at least a weekend at one of the hotels just so I can make sure that I'm able to get in.
Well, and that's the thing too, like depending on what your number is, depending on what the percentage is, that hotels, like if you're going to fill up every room, and I don't know if you're going to do that. I don't know if they're still going to socially distance in the hotel. I don't know if they're going to limit the number of rooms. They might also limit the number of rooms based on how much staff they have. They might not have enough staff to clean every room every single night, or because you're going to have more stringent safety protocols when you're cleaning rooms and stuff now. So like, who's to say that they're going to fill every room? But even if they don't, all those guests are going to automatically, hopefully, be put onto that max cap number. And then that's going to lower the amount of just everyday people that can enter the park. So it's going to be, there's a lot of issues here that I think people aren't really considering yet. Because we've kind of been the phase we've been in is the park going to open? And now when we get closer and we start seeing other parks opening, other parks talking about opening, we don't know if Ohio's there yet. And this is really a Cedar Point specific problem, because you have all these hotels. You've got, is Sawmill even open yet? That's not ready to go open yet, though.
They are open. No, they're not open. I know their golf course is open. I got an email message the other day to reserve a tee time.
There you go.
I was like, oh wow.
So Cedar Point's making money even during all of this. So, but you're going to need to, there is no way, and I'm from Chicago, there is no way that I would book a hotel room at Breakers without having a certain guarantee that I would be able to enter that park when I want to. And maybe you put a limit on the number of days, and obviously money is a limit too. But maybe you put a limit that say, hey, you buy 2 nights, you get 3 days in the park, something like that. Kind of like how Castaway Bay does it with their bracelets, that just you stay there and it says, hey, you can go in these days. You can go in maybe the night before, maybe, try to get a twilight ticket in there like they used to have and say, hey, you can do this, you can do these days. And then maybe when you leave, you can't go in. Maybe when you leave, you can go in. And that's another way to try and get business for their hotels, because they're going to need to find a way to fill those rooms. And if you're not going to make a guarantee, like you're close, you're still relatively close to the park, but you still might get the hotel room, if you can be guaranteed a spot in the door, right?
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, what I think though they're going to end up doing is anyone who does have a hotel room, they're going to figure out, if they're limiting the number of rooms or whatever, anyone that does have a reservation, they're allowed in the park. That's going to make up so much of a percentage. Then from there, they're going to take the general public who gets single day tickets and then the season pass holders, and they're just going to split that. And a percentage of season pass holders are guaranteed a reservation spot. And then there's a number of guaranteed single day tickets. And then after that, it's basically a free for all. If whoever reserves it, they get it. Or maybe after that point, there's a wait list or something.
Well, and the thing with season pass holders too, is they've already extended all of our passes to 2021 for the entire season. They're pretty much the only, well, there's other chains that have done a little bit like that. So like Dollywood has extended, up until June of next year. Hershey is extended up until June of next year. Cedar Fair has extended all the way through 2021. So that is awesome of them. But I think it's also going to give them more of a leg to stand on to really limit the number of pass holders into the park, because they're going to be like, well, we gave you all of next year for free. So this year, that's the year you're paying for. This is the year that if we want to limit stuff, we can. And that's how they're going to get around it. And I don't think pass holders are going to have much leg to stand on. They can be upset about that. But honestly, I'm not. I would not be upset by that. If Cedar Fair came and say to me, okay, you have a gold pass, you can only come in 3 times a month, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. That's fine with me. Like, cause now I'm probably only going to go, 3 times. If I go, I want to go 3 times in a row, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or do like a little Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trip. But I'm probably not going to go back in the same month. I have in the past. There has been a number of years.
Because what, you're 6-7 hours away?
No, I'm only like 4 hours away. So
I thought you were further than that. But
no,
yeah,
it's like 4 hours. So like, there's been multiple times when I was part of the Ride Warrior Club. I would be up there almost twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, depending on the different events that they did. But I wouldn't be upset if they said, okay, we're going to limit the amount of days that pass holders could come in. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, for me too, I'd probably only go 3 times a month now anyways. I mean, I'm an hour away, so it's easier for me to get there. But this year, now that I am closer, I was planning on going, getting off work at 5, go to the park on the day they're open till midnight from, get there around 7 or 8 and just hang out for 4 hours, get on some night rides or whatever. So if that's the case, probably won't be doing that. But on a normal day, the only times I'm there, for a full day is 3 times, once every other week or so.
Yeah. So I don't think, I think people just have to be flexible, and people just have to like realize what this is. The park isn't going to put themselves in a position where they're liable for stuff to happen. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, you could just put a disclaimer in that. But those things don't ever hold up in court, that the park's still going to be held to the standards of what other people do. And if they can't meet those standards, then they're going to be liable for that. And that's just how the system works sometimes. So the park, I think, is going to be extra cautious. It'll be interesting to see when they open. Hopefully, but when they open, and then what the number is of people that they're going to allow in every day, and how they're going to deal specifically Cedar Point with those hotels, because that's other parks have like hotels, but this Cedar Point's like, their whole
A resort.
business. I think it
Yeah.
was like 20 to 40% of their business at one point was the hotel. So and then you get into the water park, and if that's ever going to open, who knows with that? Because once again, if you're opening in July, is it even worth opening for a month and a half? Because you're going to close right up
Yeah,
in
because
August.
normally they open the water park. They would be opening this weekend,
Yeah.
tomorrow probably.
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend's typically when they open the water park. But I was looking on their website, and it does look like the first day you're able to book at Breakers is June 15th. So as of now, it looks maybe that's the day they're targeting and saying, hey, based off of, because they haven't announced anything other than, hey, we're closed and we're working with the Ohio government to, come up with a plan. So maybe that's a sign that that's their target date. But again, that could change. I mean,
well, that's really interesting that they even have a target date on there. And I'm
go
sure
on there and try to book for the June 13th or 14th. It says, sorry, there's nothing available. But if you do check in June 15th, check out June 16th, it gives you a list of rooms.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So maybe because a lot of parks are targeting like June 15th as an opening date. We just heard that Universal is trying to push for an early June opening. So, we'll see what happens with Cedar Point. Hopefully, I think it's very likely that they open this year. The question is how accessible.
How open are they going to be? Yeah. How many rides are going to be open? How many restaurant places are going to be open? They're probably not going to have any of the like coasters or Johnny Rockets. You probably won't be able to sit inside of there. Some of those places have the outside patios, which, I mean, in Ohio, they're allowing the outside patios to open, but you're still supposed to be distant from people. So
Yeah.
a lot of those places will be able to open. We were talking about it earlier, how a lot of the new food places are, you got to walk inside to get your food. So are they going to just maybe have someone standing there and bring it out to you? Or it's a lot of unknowns.
Well, a lot of unknowns still, but I think we're beginning to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I know personally, I might just be booking for Halloween weekends because I have a feeling those are going to go fairly quickly. And if they do a Six Flags reservation system, I think I might need to pick a weekend at Cedar Point
Oh man, imagine if this all gets pushed back until Halloween weekends. If Halloween weekends is the opening, they're only open on weekends. They're going to have a max capacity crowd every weekend.
Well, and the problem with that is it comes to a point, the further you push it back, the closer you are to say, is it even worth opening? That we see a whole lot of little parks right now canceling the whole season because you think about the training that goes into staff, you think about the prep work that goes into opening the rides, the maintenance requirements, the electrical requirements, and do you have enough time to make money over that period, especially if you have to limit the amount of people who are walking in. So the further this goes, the bigger question is, will they open? I still think they will, but I think we're going to see maybe a half a season. I could see July 1st being a good target date, maybe June 15th. We'll see. But that's exciting.
I think keeping an eye on the June 15th resort dates. And then also, if you look at one of the webcams, you'll see that the Ferris wheel still doesn't have any of its cars on it. So if we start seeing, that wheel fill up, we might know, okay, something's going on where, now they have a go ahead to at least start prepping the rides to get them ready. Because, from what I've heard, they still have to, for them to open, they still have to have everything inspected by the state. So it's going to be a couple weeks just to do that.
To that point, I know there's been a lot of rumors flying around Facebook that there's different groups pushing this idea that the state fired all their inspectors, which is true. They did furlough them or get rid of them. But the director of the state inspection agency said that as soon as the parks are able to reopen, that they have full plans to rehire all those people and put them right out on the job. So this idea that they're getting rid of inspectors, that's completely false. It's completely not true. The state furloughed them, put them, maybe fired them is the correct term. It's hard to find an article that says which, but the director said as soon as the state is ready to open parks, that those people will be brought right back. It's not like it's going to be years before they're brought back, even though some different petitions and websites are trying to portray it as if they're never being brought back, and that's just altogether false. But we've also heard that maybe their maintenance crew has been furloughed, and maybe that's why the Ferris wheel still doesn't have its gondolas on. So even once they get that all clear to bring people back, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks, if not more, to get the park ready. So even if they're said, hey, they can open up June 1st, well, they're going to still need 2 to 3 weeks, maybe the whole month of June, to get ready. And that's why I say July 1st might be a more reasonable date, that if they're not back yet putting all this stuff on, and then maybe, Stephen, too, maybe they have no plans to open up the Ferris wheel this year. I don't know.
That could be it too. It would look funny with just
it would look real funny.
Empty Ferris wheel.
Yeah, it'll be like winter chill out with a couple of rides.
Summer chill out.
We will see what happens here. There's just so much going on right now in the world. This is just a very small piece of our concerns overall. And then hopefully we do see Cedar Point open up for this, what was supposed to be an amazing season with the big 150th. But you got your 2-year celebration. Everyone wanted that 2-year celebration. Guess what? Bingo, you all got it. So any final thoughts here?
No, nothing else from me. It's just kind of dry until we get some good information and get into the park, but figured it's good to just speculate on some of the rumors that are going on and doing what we can.
As soon as we find out some more solid information from the park, we will definitely update you again. So I have, of course, Andrew Barchek from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Steve Lynn from Cleveland, Ohio.
As always, right on, Ride Warriors.